Right. Hello,
Time more
YouTube.
waits for no one, you know
Hello,
that.
YouTube. Ignore the names being in the wrong place. We haven't got Paul with us yet because he's coming a bit later. So I'm going to be Paul for the moment, just to make life difficult. Anyway, you're very welcome to this recording session for the Talk Show for Talkers here on irishtalkers.com. So, Ted, are we ready to... Now, I've got to work out how the heck I'm going to do this because it's all wrong because we haven't got His Lordship, Paul, his Paulship.
Yeah, well,
Let me
but sure, he'll be here by the time we start after.
Okay.
And he normally wouldn't be here with me tomorrow when I'm doing the interview.
I know where I am now. Right. Okay, so... You
can count me in, so and I'll introduce Michael.
Yeah, I've just got to key up section 2. Right. Oh, come on, why did that not pause?
You'll have to be careful, Mara, when Paul comes in, that he doesn't come in running, panting and puffing.
Well, whatever he does...
We'll have to redo the interview.
Whatever he does, he will mess up the order of people on the screen.
How about you have control with him coming in there, haven't you?
That's a good thinking. Good thinking. I'll put the waiting... Put
him in a waiting room.
Yeah, I'll put the waiting room on. I just must remember to mute my microphone. Okay, Ted. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to segment 2 of this week's offering of the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. And you will have heard me enthuse you all you listeners, you Toastmasters and would-be Toastmasters, on our guest this week. We have a very eminent Toastmaster with us today, well known in Toastmaster circles throughout the breadth of District 71. And this gentleman's name is Michael Sexton. And Michael is a member of the McAfee Corporate Toastmasters Club. So you're very welcome, Michael, to the Talk Show for Talkers.
Thank you very much, Ted.
So, Michael, what we're going to be doing is you're going to be asked 5 questions. Now, the interesting thing about the 5 questions is that I may ask you in the course of the interview significantly more than 5 questions. So it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you know what I mean. And I mentioned, and I just told our viewers and our listeners that you are a member of the McAfee Club, which is a corporate club here in Cork, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with McAfee, those particularly if they use any sort of software or to prevent malware on their computers, they'll know who McAfee are. So what position have you got this year?
This year, Ted, I'm delighted to take up the position of Vice President Public Relations. It's a privilege to have. Excellent role for myself, so I'm looking forward to it. Last year I was president. This year now it's public relations, so I'll be learning about Toastmasters Media Kit. In fact, I was at training last weekend, and I got some good tips there because it's a nice job. You're going out to the world. And also trying to publicize it to your own members also. And one really nice tip I got was, rather than just something sending the email out about who was spoken or what happened at the last meeting, the speech you gave, and the topics, was to include a tip on public speaking. It's something I wouldn't have thought of, just something general, something along the lines of know the room, arrive a little early or meet some of the guests on the way in. So I'd be hoping to do that really as the year goes ahead, just to include a little tip in any publicity I give out. And secondly, what I learned was Toastmasters International has its own media kit. And on their webpage, they had a lot of information, including logos and the like. And so I'm looking forward to availing of that. And obviously, there's help from the district as well. Or the guy had put up a Facebook page, James Hurtford, I think it was, and he had a lot of assistance around him. So I'd like to tap into what he's doing as well. Really, it's not just a solo run. I'd like to learn something new in this role. That's one area, because I work in software, as you mentioned there, testing. So I could have my head in the computer. Well, PR and marketing, and it looks like kind of a sexy number. So like a new adventure in that sort of side of things,
Yeah. Well, you've given us fantastic tips there on your first 30 seconds. That's superb. And James Horde that you mentioned, he's actually the VPPR manager of District 71.
Okay, yeah.
He's taking over from Elizabeth Jordan.
Oh, I understand. Yes, yes.
You know, so he'll be appearing on this show as well. You are the first person to appear on the new Toastmasters New Year.
Yes, the season starts again.
It does.
Looking forward to something new, new adventure ahead. It's back to square one, you know. But it should be good. It should be good.
And Michael, as a matter of if you don't mind me asking, with McAfee, do you continue on through the 12 months, or do you take a break for the summer like some of our clubs do?
In fact, we do take a break. This year, we had our last meeting last Friday, and we won't be meeting again until September, because we do find that our members go on holidays themselves. It's just harder to fill the program. The people are not present in the building.
Yes, yes.
You know, and it's not because we do meet on Fridays at 12. So it's I know I remember Blarney before even.
Yeah, of course.
We used to find out like once May hit, you know, members would be hard to come along because, you know, Tuesday at 8 p.m. you know, people would be out cutting the grass and things like that. So we don't have that issue in McAfee. We're not there to cut the grass or anything like that. There's no distractions, but still, just people have gone on holidays themselves. That's what.
Well, what we found in Blarney was last year we discovered this because of COVID. A lot of our members just weren't going on holiday. So we said, look, we'll keep it going. And consequently, we picked up new members and all along the way. So we're running over the full 12 months. We are not closed. Toastmasters, you've heard it here now live on the Talk Show for Talkers. Blarney Toastmasters meet on the second and the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. And we're running right throughout the 12 months. So if you feel like getting your fix of Toastmasters, you'll be more than welcome at Blarney Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Ted. And I'm sure on behalf of the audience, we also thank you for the invitation. We're online. It's a worldwide club. The world is our oyster. So thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, well done. And Michael, what brought you to Toastmasters?
Many years ago now, I was thinking of that came up with training. We're all asked to think, what brought you to Toastmasters? And, you know, why would other people come along? And but realistically, many years ago, I just felt my voice was very soft, and I felt I wasn't being heard. With the consequence was that I was thinking more on would I being heard at all, rather than thinking about what to say. So that was a bit of a stress, and I was saying it to someone, and I was in college at the time, and I remember I was talking about the debating society, and the guy said to me, "Oh, I don't know about that now, Michael, beating the life there, you know what I mean?" But my father did Toastmasters. I said, "What's that?" Do you know what I mean? So then I joined the nearby club, the Haven Club back in the day. We used to meet in Moore's Hotel in Cork City. And but primarily, to answer your question, it would be to be heard, to have a louder voice, a stronger voice. And then I suppose I developed a lot of tips over the years. Specifically, I remember hearing someone being evaluated who had a similar issue, and the evaluator said just to read out loud for 30 seconds every day. And that made a big difference to me, really, just hearing someone else's evaluation. And again, I stay because the people in it is a very progressive organisation. The worldwide dimension to it, which is nice. You know, there's a few friends everywhere. I once worked in France for a few months in Paris, and didn't have a Toastmasters meeting over there.
Fantastic, yeah.
75, I think it was, but did have a meal with every meeting, and it was like meeting was like. The meeting was 2.5, 3 hours long, Now, every meeting was €25, but the speeches would happen. We had our own room. Speeches would happen after the main course during the coffee. And it was a very pleasant evening. Again, it was like the United Nations. That's one thing I noticed in McAfee also. Many of our members, English would not be their first language.
Right.
So, no, their English is very good. But still, maybe they come along to improve their English. But also, it's a great way, I suppose, in the corporate club to get to meet other people in the company. And secondly, there are a lot of skills that you learn in Toastmasters, which are appropriate to community clubs, but also corporate clubs, with listening and holding meetings, being time efficient, being able to give presentations at all, getting your point across. But I suppose one thing that I was really picked up on, our former president did say that one of the reasons it was, if you're in a team of 5, Toastmasters would really help you a lot to pipe up in that team of 5 rather than just being a wallflower on the back. So it's not really for the man who's going to be speaking in front of 1,000 people about some big new cybersecurity. That helps as well, obviously, but it's more, there'll be far more people in smaller groups who wish they could pipe up that bit more, and it's really beneficial in that regard. The background itself to the club, it was set up by, there's an organisation back facing, it's called Wise Women in Security, and they were looking for something to build on confidence as well. So someone suggested Toastmasters Club, and the rest is history, I think.
Yeah.
Or it came along a lot to help, and we're still there. And Mr. McAfee,
it was actually set up in the year. It was actually set up in the year that I was division director.
Oh, congratulations!
So 2017-18, yeah, we managed to have 4 clubs set up that year. And consequently, we got presidents distinguished as a division. I think that was only the 2nd time in the history of Division A, so it was fantastic. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. You mentioned 1975 there, which regards your friend.
That was the name of the club, I think it was. No, I think it was I'm not sure, was it District 75 or Club 75? I think in Paris they have these arrondissements, and actually in France the license plate has a 75 if you're in.
Oh, I see. Right.
Maybe that's how the club got its name.
What year did you actually join Toastmasters when you went in to have your voice fixed?
I guess it was 1992 or 93.
That's fantastic. That's a great.
A long time ago,
Yeah, and as you said, you've had many clubs since.
Yeah, they always find out about me in the end, That,
yeah.
Well done. Never helps when the probation officer walks in and sits in front. Or the FBI taps me about the witness protection program, what I mean? So,
and especially when you're with a cyber security company, it is relevant that we know who the heads are in there. And what has been the greatest benefit to you?
I guess the greatest benefit, I suppose you could say, it'd be hard to say pick out a particular one, but I guess not being nervous in crowds or anything like that, just from talking to people, just being able to, mix, it's nice. They'd be the big things. Feel comfortable on a show like this. Realizing, we're all paid up members of the human race, and we enjoy it. I guess one big thing, I suppose, for me is my English. My written and spoken English would have improved a lot. That's maybe just like ongoing learning, keeping that skill up to date. And I suppose the ability to speak and get a point across. But they'd be the main benefits that I can think of. And the fact that it's worldwide is nice, definitely.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And you picked out some lovely things there, actually. What has been your biggest Toastmaster challenge?
The biggest Toastmaster challenge, these questions are a bit similar to, what is your weakness? And you kind of say, oh, my weakness is I work too hard, So it's hard to know. I suppose they're all challenges, The current one, I suppose, McAfee is a small corporate club, and show on the road is tricky in itself because we have a pool technically of maybe 300 people. It's not the biggest. Yeah. But then if we look wider, there's actually a McAfee club in Germany, there's a McAfee club in England, and they could all join. And so I would think my current challenge is the biggest one. Definitely, it's that'd be it. I suppose.
As VPPR, is it?
As public relations.
Oh, yeah, well done. That's a fantastic.
Come along.
Yeah, that's a great learning opportunity you're after getting there. All right. If you could, if anything, what would you change about Toastmasters?
That's really hard question to answer. I am a bit flummoxed at that, just because it is very enjoyable. Because in fact, it's everywhere. As I mentioned, I was an engineer at Toastmasters as well, and it's easy now to get people from abroad to come along. We did a meeting with India and places in Canada during the year. I guess if it's hard to think, I'm just trying to think. When people do join, I suppose the big thing is the emphasis on mentoring at that stage, to be more focused on. I guess trying to keep people who have so much skills to pass on their skills to help. That'd be the biggest challenge. But then that's depending on the individual, and there's so much creativity in Toastmasters. We all do it in our own way. I can't. It's a really hard question to answer. I don't want to get too bogged down, in trying to change something. I'd like to get more bogged down in writing speeches, giving presentations.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
There's always something wrong if I look hard enough. But I prefer to just go with what we have and just.
Yeah, that's a good point. And in actual fact, that would be one of the questions in the 5 questions. And I've asked that question of world champions of public speaking, of district directors, of international presidents even. And I used to be kind of having a chuckle, asking the international presidents, because whatever they said, I might hold them to it. And they'd have the power to be able to change something. So what keeps you coming back then, Michael, to Toastmasters? Because you've had several clubs. And did you have any unbroken stint? Did you ever take 12 months out for whatever reason? And
no, not as yet anyway. I suppose I haven't told you the half of it. I think they said about Marco Polo when he came back, or when he was on his deathbed, that he talked about meeting with the Chinese king and being his right-hand man and a foreign minister, and on his deathbed the priest said to him, you're going to heaven now. All those stories true about you leading the navy and attacking Japan. I haven't told you the half of it. So it's what keeps me coming, I suppose, hearing the stories. I suppose setting new challenges. Like something I do now actually is when I hear a nice phrase on the radio, a spoken phrase, I write it into my phone. I try to limit myself to one a day because I want to get obsessive about it. That's a new thing, And I think I can thank you, Ted. One of your phrases came in there. Treasure trove. I think you mentioned one. Mm-hmm. So I have a whole raft of phrases like that. It was a clincher, things like that. But I guess it's social, keeping the mental side going and the challenge of it. That's one thing, I suppose, the challenge of it is.
Well done. And I love your play on words there when you're speaking about treasure trove and you use the word raft. So the treasure trove would fit nicely on the raft. So I love it. That was beautiful, beautiful.
A game of two halves.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the talk show for talkers this week. You've been a fantastic guest, only what I would have expected. And make sure you tell your McAfee members all over the world to listen in on Saturday at 4:00 to the talk show for talkers on irishtalkers.com to listen to your dulcet tones.
Thank you very much, Ted. It was a privilege and honor to be present today.
Well done, Michael. Thank you. Well, you certainly came through that unscathed anyhow, Mike.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, the questions were nice. So,
yeah, fantastic. And you're so right, actually, when you speak about some of the advantages and some of the skills that you pick up in Toastmasters. And you mentioned such as being interviewed on a podcast.
Yes, there we are. You know what I mean? It's turning up. It's great to get the opportunity, not to be too.
Yeah, and face the fear and do it anyway. What you will find is when you listen back to it on Saturday at 4:00, because it goes out over 4 sections over the weekend.
Yes, okay.
Section 1 is on Friday at 4:00. Section 2, which is where we have our guest interview, Saturday at 4:00. Then there's another one, Sunday 4:00 and Monday 4:00. But when you listen back to it, you'll be clapping yourself on the back with the fantastic answers you gave in the conversation.
I'd have to I was going to say I'd have to record it, but sure, it is recorded.
Oh, it is recorded.
There for all posterity.
It's up there now for all time.
I'll have to bookmark the equivalent.
Yeah. So get on to your colleagues all over the world of McAfee and.
Thank you. That's a good point.
Yeah, and you're the VPPR. This is for a way now. This is
it is a bit of publicity, isn't it?
To promote, And will you send on that link to me about the tips?
I will indeed. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Definitely. And I'll be passing that on to our VPPR. So between the three of us, we'll conquer the world, I'd say.
We'll know about it anyway. It's the main thing. Indeed. Hello, Paul. Good to see you now as well.
Sorry to be.
Words.
You're okay, Paul.
It was only good things I said about you anyway, Paul. Don't worry.
He'll be listening for that now on Saturday, Michael.
Yeah, come here. I better dash. I do have a meeting at 12:30.
Thanks again, Michael. You're a gentleman.
You're welcome. Anytime now again. Thank you for all the service for putting
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
I know.
Bye. How are you, Paul?
I'm okay.
Good man. We had to put you into the waiting room just in case you decide to come storming in like a bull in a china shop since you were a bit late.
Well, I knew that if I was going to come in, I was going to come in with my screen off and with my sound.
Okay, right, yeah.
But I was happy going in. Tomorrow told me she'd put me in a waiting room. And
That's great. Are you at home or are you still up in Kilkee?
No, I'm at home. No.
Oh, are you at home? Yeah. I'm looking at all your ribbons behind you on the wall there.
They're my they're rosettes you get for horse jumping.
Oh, I thought they were rosettes you got for Toastmasters.
Oh, sure, I don't get any rosettes.
You have a lot of those as bookmarkers in all your books.
Well, the reason why I put you in the waiting room is that as soon as you come on screen, it kills the well. If it comes on unexpectedly, it kills the order of the stream.
Yeah, right. That's good.
But yeah,
I was hoping you would do that actually, because I knew I was late and I knew that Michael was on a deadline. So
yeah.
I hope you're not waiting for me.
You went way over.
No, I know you knew that too, Paul. That it didn't have any effect on the show as such, except maybe for the YouTube.
Yeah,
because even if you were here from the start, you wouldn't have been enjoying the interview with Michael unless you were doing it yourself, obviously.
Are we live on YouTube right now?
We are.
It's all right. 4.5 minutes over, Ted.
Sorry about that, Mara. You might have to do a bit of...
He talked. I mean, yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, he did, yeah. It was very interesting. When I asked him the first question, he nearly answered the 5 questions with the answer.
Yeah.
1991 or 92, Paul, he joined Toastmasters. And
I know.
He told us a lovely one there. He said, I thought it was 1975 he was talking about, but it wasn't. But he said he was working in France for a period of time, must have been with McAfee. And he said he went to a Toastmasters meeting over there, and there was dinner. There was dinner and everything, 2.5-hour meeting. He said it was fabulous. €25. It was €25 a head, but sure, that's good if you're having dinner or lunch or whatever it is.
Yeah, there are clubs around the world that meet over dinner.
Mm.
Interesting thing, actually, to do table topics at a dinner table.
Yeah.
And to give people topics to talk about at dinner.
That's interesting. All right.
But yeah, I've heard a few stories. I haven't done it, but there's a Andrew Bennett, who's a member of Firebirds and a member of Excalibur and maybe some other clubs as well. He was a guest on Talk Show for Talkers recently, but he has told me a few times about dinners in Paris.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that's where Michael was to Paris.
So
that's the tradition over there.
But the variety of things that are done around the world is kind of...
Yeah. Well, I can remember I had a lovely advantage one year. I think it was when Sharon was president. So that was only 2 or 3 years ago at the most. We had our Christmas night out, and we met in the restaurant just outside the gates of the woolen mills, inside in that restaurant, lovely restaurant. In actual fact, we picked up 2 members that night, but I did an after dinner speech, and it was part of a project. And 2 of the ladies they were at another table, and they heard the speech, and they heard. Well, I think we had a table topic and a couple of table topics as well, and they were very interested. So they came over and they said, we'd think of join. We're thinking of joining that, and one of those was Beryl.
Oh,
and another lady from Blarney who joined the club as well, Marie, but we haven't seen Marie for a while. But Beryl joined that night.
Small world.
Small world, yeah. Mara, whenever you're ready, so we'll forge ahead if you like.
You know, I know you were talking to Michael about public relations, but one of the thoughts I've had about public relations is that it's real old-fashioned public relations I'm thinking of, is that it would be possible for a Toastmasters club to get a number of members to go down and stand on the steps of, let's say, City Hall and do impromptu speaking, put on a little event, talking about things that are relevant to Cork.
Yes.
With a view of possibly attracting the attention of a newspaper. And I'm sure that there are times when a newspaper would could get a good photograph of something interesting happening outside City Hall.
Oh, yeah.
And that is free publicity, you see, for Toastmasters. Now, it might not work, but it might work. And, it was the kind of thing that would get perhaps a newspaper photograph, or
interesting,
even a local radio station might pick it up.
Yeah, we used to do something like that. We did it for a couple of years in Blarney. There used to be a particular day in Blarney when stuff like that was celebrated, and it was down in the castle grounds of the hotel, of the Blarney Castle. Spectacular grounds and everything to be doing it in. But we used to have a table there, and we used to be putting on table topics and stuff on the open, and if people came along, if they wanted to join in, they were welcome to join in. Kind of a speaker's corner.
That's a very good publicity thing, Ted.
Yeah, Maury, you were involved in one of those, weren't you? You were.
No, I've only been into the Blarney grounds once and we were trying to get a photograph, you remember, of the club, and we ended up just recruiting members of the public because most of our members had disappeared.
That's right. But I can remember Victor used to go around with a sign and everything.
Yeah.
Blarney Toastmasters,
Yeah. Anyway, should we press on with...
We'll press on, yeah.
The opening. Okay. All right, are you ready, Ted?
I'm ready, Myra.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. We look forward to your comments, your questions, your suggestions. Any feedback you have is grist to the mill for us here on the irishtalkers.com. We love to get your suggestions. You can also listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com, and we also publish the Public Speaking Weekly. This comes out every Friday. It's a roundup of links from the internet. It's all about Toastmasters, public speaking, confidence, leadership. So look out for the newspaper link on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the prolific, persuasive, personable Paul O'Malley.
Welcome, listeners. It could be a pleasure to be listened to by you.
Well done, Paul. And on this week's show, we have that usual eclectic mix that we have every week. We have a word of the day. We have a thought for the week. We will have a guest speaker tomorrow, and you will have to come in tomorrow at 4:00 to listen to that guest. And that guest is a gentleman. So I'm not going to tell you any more than that, except that it's a gentleman that you will find very, very interesting. And I'm going to give you what my thought for the week is on this one, because it's a little bit longer than what we'd normally give. And I want you to think about this, and Paul and I then will have something to say about it. So this is the quote that I'm going to give you. Life is short, break the rules, forgive quickly, kiss slowly, love truly, laugh uncontrollably, and never regret anything that makes you smile. And that was given to us by the incredible Mark Twain. I'm going to give it to you again. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. And never regret anything that makes you smile. Your thoughts, Mr. O'Malley?
Why would anybody regret something that makes them smile. I suppose if you knocked somebody down as they were crossing the road, rolled over them and killed them and smiled, you'd be a real weirdo, and that would be breaking the rules of the road, and that would be completely not what Mark Twain was talking about. Mm-hmm. But genuine smiling, like I did when I heard the phrase break the rules. I thought, I've just been reading a new set of rules that have been just published for Toastmasters. I might mention it later on. And I thought, break the rules? Is that what Mark Twain is urging us to do? And so I think there's some really nice things in there, but laughing uncontrollably, that's a terrific thing. That reminds me of yoga laughter. I thought you were practicing yoga laughter there, Ted.
I might.
Well, off you go. Laugh uncontrollably now.
Well done, Paul.
Kind of
and laughing at
controllable laughter that's you're advised to do before you go on stage and to make a somber speech or anything. Just get the old. Yeah, that's yoga laughter.
That's beautiful, beautiful.
I once ran a yoga laughter session at a Toastmasters meeting, not in Blarney, I have to stress, but not in District 71, in one of those other districts that are into laughter in a really big way. So yoga laughter can be quite fun, really. It's the sort of thing that would have everybody shining brightly on the screen or on the stage. Resplendently.
I heard you had your audience in stitches that night. Is that true?
No, all the stitches had been taken out. They were fully recovered. They were absolutely, bubbling. And they behaved brilliantly after that. And that's what it's all about, trying to get people to behave brilliantly, trying to behave with all the brilliance that they have inside. Isn't that right?
Well, I'm going to throw you a table topic now. I'm going to test your memory and your knowledge. Were they misbehaving before you got them to laugh?
Oh, of course they were. They were all misbehaviorites. And I could see that the minute I saw them, I started to laugh at them. And I said, look, we'll get these people to wake up. So I just laughed at them. Mm. And it's an old trick. I remember being trained on how to do yoga laughter years ago. And, we all know, and Mark Twain, he said more things there. Of course, you and I were focusing on the laughing uncontrollably, because it's such a pleasant thing to do. And I'd say all the listeners have been laughing at the ridiculousness of you and I laughing at nothing.
You're right. Very good. But what I think is next.
You're a hoot, Ted. That was a really rough story that you told last night. But anyway,
I want to give you having a good chuckle at us there. I
want to give you a word of the week, Ted. But it's a long word. You'll need your pencil for it. Are you ready? It's the word of the week is resplendent. I'll have to spell it. RESPLENDENT. Resplendent. And it means shining brightly. So when you put on your dress, that beautiful yellow dress, brighter than a buttercup, and you come down to dinner in the evening, it's possible for somebody to say to you, Ted, you look resplendent this evening. That is, you're really shining brightly. And it's a splendid word. And there's some connection between resplendent and splendid. So I got a little quiz for you, Ted, this week. I won't ask you which century it is, but which do you think came first, splendid or resplendent?
Splendid.
Splendid. Oh, you see.
And I think it was splendid of you to picture me in a yellow dress brighter than a buttercup. I was of the opinion, Paul, that you were speaking to the audience when you mentioned the yellow dress. You better clear that little anomaly up now, that I never go around dressed in dresses.
Everything I do on the Talk Show for Talkers is for the listeners. It's not for you or for me.
But you said you remember you'd look lovely in a yellow dress. I'm getting worried about you, Paul.
And I was seriously then talking to the members of the audience who wouldn't normally wear a yellow dress, but they would be resplendent in it. The other thing is that when somebody's made a speech that is really crackling and with fire and energy, it's good to call that was a resplendent speech. It's a good word because it will sound a little bit like splendid, even though, surprise, surprise, it came before. Resplendent came before splendid.
Resplendent came before splendid.
Yes, resplendent came first. It's a 15th century word, and splendid is a 16th century word.
Oh, I thought splendid would have come first. Yeah, that's interesting.
See, that's the weird thing about words, really. They both come out of a Latin origin, but in the English language, resplendent came along first. That's according to the major research I did before the show today in Webster's dictionary.
And Webster's would be one of the authorities on things such as that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very useful dictionary.
Now, resplendent is a lovely word, and I think you can see where it would come from, splendid.
Well, you could perhaps, the way we're talking, you'd think that splendid came from resplendent, but the truth is that both of them came from a Latin word, splendere or something like that. I didn't remember what that was, but it's the kind of thing you want to be happening at Toastmasters meetings. You want people to be dressed and have an appearance that is, wow, this is a good place to be. So you want people to, however they dress, you want them to give a really good impression of themselves.
True.
And secondly, with the vivacity of the words and the color of the language, you want what they have to say to be described as resplendent.
And that was a lovely word you used there, the vivacity. That's a lovely word as well.
Yeah, they're quite handy words to have, words that are a little bit out of the ordinary in order to lift the attention, really, of the people listening.
Yeah, and I think I have to congratulate you. I think that is a splendid word to have as our word of the week this week, resplendent. That fits very nicely in. And I'm going to ask you, Paul, what will you be discussing tomorrow on segment 3?
Oh, the day after tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about an event that is going to happen shortly in Toastmasters. Some club officers are going to be installed with a ceremony. So the installation of club officers in a ceremonial way. That's what I'm going to talk about.
Oh, that's very good. And of course, you were bang on. And that brings this segment to a nice close. You were bang on when you said the day after tomorrow, because of course, tomorrow we'll have our guest. So you will have to come back tomorrow to listen to our guest. See you then.
Lovely. Lovely.
Lovely.
Well done. That was a nice little bit of laughter in the middle there. Actually, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. Paul, can you remember to try to? I know you're very energetic, but try to stay in the center part of your screen as much as possible, because when I go to put you in a small picture, if you're off to the side, we just see half your face.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I need I need stage directions before
do.
every
Yeah,
show.
but it's good that you kind of move around a bit too, I think, you know.
Well, it's yeah, it's fine. I can put you on.
Yeah, once we can go to off screen.
We can put you on.
Myra, a quick question for you, and Paul probably could answer this too. How do I increase the size of not my background, no, but just myself? Is it a different camera I should be using or what?
When you say increase your size, what do you mean in relative to the other boxes on your screen?
No, just even in the boxes as it is. When I find myself on screen, particularly when I'm standing, if I stand back, I get too small altogether.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I understood.
I'm sitting at the moment, no, but I would like to know, how do I increase my size and still be able to get the hand gestures in?
Right, well, if you watch my screen now, I will show you if I can make it work. I might be... No, I'm not locked. I'm using Manycam, and as you see, I can go in and out.
That's fantastic.
Yeah?
That's great, yeah.
Because I can zoom in and out. Now, your camera, are you using an external camera or your computer's camera?
No, I'm using the one in the laptop.
Okay, well, you probably can't do that with your laptop camera. You would need to have an external camera like the Logitech 920, which is what I'm using, which is probably the most popular webcam at the moment.
I must get one of those, so.
I really ought to put.
And the other one is, Mara, which regards lighting. I have a lot of natural light coming in my window here now.
Yeah.
But sometimes they still look very dark on the screen, as if there's a shadow there.
Well, it depends upon the balance. You see, all Zoom can do, or all your camera can do, is to try to balance the available light. So if you have very bright light, as I have, coming from the window, then this side of my face is going to be darker. The brighter that is, the darker that's going to look, because the camera tries to balance. Now, again, because I'm using Manycam, I can physically go in and change that, right? I can make myself very much brighter or very much darker, depending upon what I want.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, I'll try and make it something like that, which is a fairly even sort of lighting. But you have to have an external program to do that.
You have to have it. You know, like on your phone, you can increase the brightness on your phone, something like what you did there with the camera.
Yes, it's that sort of thing.
Can you do that with a laptop, no?
You probably can. Look, this is my my computer screen now. I haven't tried doing it on this, but let's see. Yeah, I can zoom it. And I can probably change the camera adjustment. Yeah, indeed.
Well, you can increase the brightness. Sorry, Paul, do you know? Yeah, Paul is practicing his body language.
So, yes, the answer is, Ted, that you could do it with any camera.
So how did you do that there, Mara? Was it just a matter of pointing on your thing and scrolling or what? How did you make yourself bigger and smaller there?
It's this program I'm using called Manycam. So
I beg your pardon. I have to have a program. So that's a bit of software you download on the computer, is it?
Yeah. Let me share my screen and I'll show you.
Okay. Thanks.
Manycam. Okay, and let me go to speaker view. Is it showing? It's not showing. Oh well.
There's something showing. All right. Yeah.
Yes, not on my screen though. Unfortunately, it's my screen's the stream screen has gone to a blank screen. So apologies to anybody watching the stream, because you won't be able to see this for some reason or other, and it's not easy for me to change this on the fly. But this is the window I'm using at the moment. This is my main camera. This is my second camera, which I use for standing up, and this is my side camera, which happens to be my computer. So all I'm doing is going up here and saying, right, zoom. If I don't want any zoom, it's like that, and I can zoom in and out.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. That's very good.
And with the color adjustment or whatever, or lightness, I'm just using.
You can make it brighter. Oh, that's fabulous.
But I can also change the color, the contrast. I tend to keep the contrast on a neutral, and I can change the color, so I can go very red or, So that's it. So
Yeah, that's very good. And is that just something I can download or upload, whatever the term is?
You can, actually, I just realized I could have shown that on the stream. However, yes, you can download it. It's called Manycam, MANYCAM. Manycam.com. I put it in the chat for you.
Okay, thanks.
Manycam.com.
Right.
And if any of our viewers are interested, that's what I'm using, especially for my camera.
Yeah, that sounds very good, actually. Yeah.
I'm also using a different program for the stream. The program I'm using for the streaming is called Streamlabs OBS. OBS stands for Open Broadcasting Software.
Okay.
And I have full control over what I'm putting out to the stream. But that's, if anybody's interested, they're welcome to get in touch at info@irishtalkers.com. I'd be happy
Well
to.
done, thank you. That's great advice there.
Right, let's get back to the recording. Am I quite ready? I'm not quite ready. Let's just do that. Bring that down. Okay. Right, so
Can you just allow me a minute before we start again?
Sure, yeah.
Just looking for something.
Sure. Look away.
I'm just looking for something. I'll be back in a minute. Chat among yourselves.
Okay.
Well, Ted, here's your table topic for the day.
Okay.
Why should you install solar panels on your roof?
That's a very good question, Moira.
I do ask
I think the reason why I should install them is it will certainly cut down on my carbon footprint.
Yeah.
As well as that, I'd imagine it's going to be cheaper for me in the long run from an electrical point of view. I won't be buying it from some of those companies out there. I'll be able to get it self-generated and I'll be able to harness the energy that I'll be getting from the sun outside without ever having to go to an outside company.
This is true.
And I think it's probably easier to do it at the moment because there are grants for it. So, countries all over the world are making it easier for us to cut down on the amount of energy that's used or the amount of fossil fuels that are used to generate energy for houses. So I think it's a very good idea.
This is very true, Ted. I'm currently generating only 1 kilowatt of energy at the moment as the clouds are overcast.
Okay, have you got a solar panel on your roof?
I have 13 solar panels on my roof.
Oh, it's fantastic. And do you find it as a benefit?
Well, I've so far generated, I've saved 1.74 tons of CO2 emissions.
That's interesting.
And I've generated today 8.4 kilowatt
and can
hours.
you actually store up then what you generate? You can?
I can't store. All I can do is to use or sell back to the grid.
Right. So you're hooked into the grid as well. So.
Well, I'm actually just reversing my meter. So as my generation exceeds my usage, the meter goes backwards.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yep,
and that means that you're saving money as well there.
Absolutely.
And were there grants for you to get those solar panels in?
Yes and no. The grant system is corrupt in my view because you have to have a B rating, energy rating, in order to qualify for the grant. If you have less than a B rating, they don't give you a grant, which I think is criminal because the whole point is to encourage people of whatever to install solar panels. So why penalise those whose houses
can't afford them? Yeah.
No, whose houses are old and cannot be brought up to that energy level. You know,
See what you mean? Yeah, that. Yeah,
I'm still saving. I'm still saving.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Paul wants to come in there, I think.
Yes, Paul.
I mainly want to tell you that I am ready to record the next part of.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Isn't that good?
When you have set the environmental questions and sorted them out, and I guess you're rehearsing your next communication at Toastmasters.
Looks like it. Yeah, that's very good advice, Mara. And you're right. Actually, I think the people that they should be targeting are the people who obviously will not qualify. That's unfair.
Yes, indeed, totally unfair. But there we are. That's life. Life is unfair, Ted.
Yeah. Call me in there, son. I'll introduce Paul.
Okay. Let's see. Am I ready? Oh, I'm all ready for you.
Well done.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters listeners and friends. You're very welcome to segment or session 3 of this week's offering of the Talk Show for Talkers. And you know that segment 3, Paul O'Mahony gives us some jewels, some gems, some pearls of wisdom. And this week is no exception, because Paul is going to be speaking exclusively about the installation ceremony for officers, for our new officers, since we're in at the start of this new year for Toastmasters.
Thank you very much. Listeners, when you became first a club officer at a Toastmasters club, what was the ceremony like? Was there a grand ritual during which a very well-respected person got you to kneel down and took out a sword and put it on your shoulder and said, "I anoint you president of the club"? Was there that feudal ceremony of the laying on of hands in which you were elevated to the peerage as Sergeant at Arms? Or was it just taken for granted that last year's club officers had gone away and you were the next lot of club officers? Yeah, what was it like? Was there much fuss? Was there much celebration? Was there cheering and clapping? Or was it just taken for granted that we don't make much of a fuss about this kind of thing in our club? What got me thinking about this was that I became a member of an international club last year in the summer of 2020. And it was an online club, and the club held a celebration of its chartering. And that's where I first heard the phrase installation, to install club officers. And it was a new one to me. Ted, have you ever, in all the years you've been in Toastmasters, has the installation of new club officers been a phrase used every year, or what? We'll wait now for Ted to unmute himself. Moira will cut out all this piece. Sorry,
Paul, for not being on mute or unmute. Yeah, I can remember back in the day, we used to have it where the incoming president received an installation from the outgoing president, and vice versa. The new president had a pin for the immediate past president.
So there's a handing over.
A handing over. It was called an installation ceremony, actually, so I've heard of it, all right, but it's kind of fallen out of practice, but it's a nice practice to have.
Well, if you look at the club leadership handbook, page 53, 54, there is a script for the installation of new officers. And it's much more elaborate than anything I imagined. And I just like to bring it to your attention. And the reason is that there's a club I'm president of, and we're going to have an installation ceremony in about 10 days' time. And this is how it begins. The senior person will say, and it could be the previous year's president, it could be an area director, it could be a division director, it could be a district director or an international director. It could be sort of somebody who people would think, oh, this is an important thing. And this is how it starts. Here's how the script starts. Will the outgoing officers please be spotlighted? We're talking about doing this on Zoom now. And then the script goes on behalf of Toastmasters International and District 71, I thank all of you for your accomplishments and salute you for your service in chartering this club. Those officers had chartered the club and your service to your club members. So the very first thing is to thank the outgoing officers. So you want to have all the last year's officers in the room so that they can all be thanked by everybody. And then new officers. So the script goes on. New officers, when I call each of you, please be spotlit. And then we have the sergeant at arms, the treasurer, the secretary, the vice presidents for public relations, membership and education, and the president. I am here to install the officers of this club and to prepare them for the challenges that lie ahead. Their collective challenge is to make this club strong and dedicated to helping people from all walks of life to listen with sensitivity, think creatively, and speak in an effective manner. As I briefly describe the responsibilities of each officer, I ask him or her to hold the gavel as a symbol of leadership. Now, let me pause for a second. I believe, Ted, that you recently acquired a gavel for use at a club meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct, Paul. Yeah, this is a golden gavel that's awarded to the Toastmaster who, in an individual's opinion, made the biggest impact at that particular meeting. So I, as the president of our own club, had the privilege of presenting it to one of our members the other night. And the way it works then, at our next club meeting, that member who had that gavel, the golden gavel for 2 weeks, will present it to someone in her opinion who made a big impression on her during our next meeting. And it goes on and on. So I think it's a nice gesture.
Okay, so this gavel could be used during this ceremony, you see. Now, pick a club officer, Ted, anyone at all you like.
VPPR.
Okay, the public relations person, right. So just imagine that the public relations person name is I don't know, Mary Ryan.
Right.
So here is the script. Mary Ryan. The duties of the Vice President, Public Relations, are to promote the club to the local media, spread the word about membership programs, and attend Toastmasters events. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? And then the Vice President for Public Relations says, I will. Please pass the gavel to the Vice President membership. Henry O'Brien. As the Vice President membership, your duties are to conduct ongoing membership building programs, explain the educational program to prospective members and ask them to join, and follow up on new members and absent members. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? And the Vice President for membership responds, I will. And then it goes, please pass the gavel to the Vice President Education. And it carries on. And then we get to the President. I thought the script is very good on the President. So let us say, Ted Malanphy, you've been elected president of Blarney Club. You are its chief executive officer and will be expected to preside at all club meetings and at all regular and special meetings of the executive committee. It is your challenge to see that this club enables its members to achieve their educational goals. It's also your challenge to see that your club helps the area, division, district, and Toastmasters International to meet their goals. Please accept the gavel as a symbol of your leadership and dedication to office. The gavel is a symbol of the power and authority given to you by the membership of this club. Use it wisely and with restraint. You are a member of your team and a leader. A team is more than a collection of people. It's an emotional force rooted in the feelings, thoughts, and actions of all members with the common goal of achievement, sharing, and mutual support. Work with your team members to create a healthy, dynamic club, a club of which everyone will be proud. Will you, as president, accept this challenge and perform the duties to the best of your ability? So there you are.
That's very
And
good.
that script is available.
I was reading it the other night, Paul, actually.
You can, a club is well able to look at the script that is available and tweak it to its own culture. It bestows an air of importance, something to be proud of, to be
Yes, it does.
doing that job. And it struck me that I've been on a number of club committees, but I've only once been installed as an officer, and that was at that club I was mentioned earlier, which is called One Country, One World, where there was an installation carried out by a international president.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
So that type of ceremony is worth considering, listeners. Maybe if you want to make a bit more fuss about the importance of good leadership.
It's a very good idea. And in our case, in Blarney, when it was done, what happened was that it was the outgoing president presided and gave, invited in the new president. And it wasn't gavels that were being passed between each other. It was actually a pin. So club president and club immediate past president. So those two pins were exchanged, and then it went down the order from the VPE to the VPM to the VPPR to the secretary to the sergeant at arms. So there was a pin for everybody. And we did have a set of pins in Blarney, but it's been quite a while since I've seen them. So it might be something worth considering that we'll get another set of pins and do that installation ceremony as well.
Well, I'd be quite interested to know from listeners if your club has a ceremony and when it takes place, because I think it might be worth considering as a symbol of quality and dedication to excellence.
I agree with you, Paul, and that's a nice way to conclude with this segment 3. And thank you for that, Paul, for those thoughts. And I'm sure we will have emails and messages flooding into us with regards to that particular installation ceremony. You told us where we can get the words. They're in the Club Leadership Handbook. Seek them out. And we hope to see you again tomorrow, which will be Monday. And we're going to be discussing something that you will have to wait until Monday with regards what we're going to be discussing. So see you then.
Great.
Well done.
Now, I did put a suggestion in the.
I saw that, Mara. It is a good
chat,
suggestion too.
Which I've had up my sleeve for the last 4 or 5 weeks, as a just in case. So, do you want me to go ahead with it?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think there's some fantastic tips in it. Did you see it, Paul?
I did. Are you going to do it, Moira? You will do the episode. Yes.
I'm happy to do it if you
Great. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a
I
terrific
think
idea.
there's some excellent tips there how to conclude a speech and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's very good.
Yep. Okay, we'll do that.
Well done.
Right, let me just finish off because you overran my
Sorry about that.
my messages again. Well, I gave you an extra minute just to be kind,
Okay.
and you took full advantage of it and more. But that's okay. There is a limit to how much I allow you to take,
Okay, all right.
but it's only to stop you going into the next segment on my template. That's all. Okay. Right, so the stream will just be, I think, speaker view only. That's okay too. Or all three of us or something, I don't know. Anyway, just pulled the cable out of my headphone. Not a very good idea. Right. Okay, Ted or Paul, who's going to bring us in?
Paul can do the bring me in because I brought the last three segments in.
Okay, Paul, you happy?
Yeah, sure.
And you know what we're doing. It's the grand finale, 12 ways to end your speech.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Good. Okay, Paul. 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, listeners. Welcome to this episode of the Talk Show for Talkers. And remember, you can find us on our website, irishtalkers.com. Today we have a special treat. This is the 4th episode that we're sharing this week. So it's the ending of the recording of this podcast for this week. So I'm going to ask Moira O'Brien if she has any tips for how to do a good ending. Moira, any tips about how to close off a speech or a podcast? I hand over to Moira O'Brien on this one.
Thank you very much, Paul. Of course, I have some tips. And guess where it came from? It came from our newspaper. The link is on our website, irishtalkers.com, and every week we trawl the internet for gems that you might find. And this came from the newspaper about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I forget precisely, but I bookmarked it and said we've got to come back to this because it's good stuff. Now, the article came from westsidetoastmasters.com. I'm not sure where they are. I guess they're American and maybe even New York. Could be West Side. I don't know. Anyway, it's entitled The Grand Finale, 12 Ways to End Your Speech. So it'd be a great idea to have a quick look at what they are suggesting. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through the 1 to 12 so you have an idea. But obviously, we don't have time to discuss every single one of them. So we'll just look at a few of them. Number 1 is the title close. 2, the circular close. 3, the challenging close. 4, the invitation close. 5, the quotation. 6, the repetitive close. I'm going to look at that one, I think. 7, the sing-song close. 8, the suggestive close. 9, the benediction close. 10, the congratulatory close. 11, the proverbial close. And 12, the demonstration close. Okay. Wow, there's some interesting stuff there, isn't there? Now, the article does go on, I think, to look at some of these in some detail, but let's choose just one or two. Paul, what do you think what's the most interesting one of those 12 that you'd like to start the discussion of?
Oh, I love the one where you use a prop and you pick up a book and you say, well, that's the end of this chapter. I like that one.
Now, how do I fit that one in? Could be the demonstration close, the very last one. Use a prop to signal the close of your speech. Yes, that's it. That's what they're suggesting. I like that. That's quite nice because it is a very specific closure. And if you can link it back to the beginning of your speech or the title of your speech, then you've got a double closure, because not only have you got the bookend, if you like, but you've also got one of the other ones, which was the title close actually was number one. Use the title of your speech as your closing words. So you can combine the two. In fact, you could probably, if you wanted to, combine a number of these into your closure. For example, the quotation close. You could take a quotation referencing the title of your speech and say that your quotation close there draws this particular chapter of title of your speech to a close. And there you've got 3 of these closures all in one go. Now, isn't that pretty good? Let's have a look at some others. The circular close. Okay. This is what I like, is referring back to your opening statement. The way you grab the audience's attention. You know, the famous one, there are more people alive today than have ever lived before, which actually is not true, just to get that in, because we talked about this last week. And sadly, Conor Neal, in his speech, used that, but it is not true. Apparently, there's about 1 in 10 people who have ever lived are alive today. That's still quite an interesting opening or anecdote. So you can reiterate that anecdote or that grab that you used at the beginning, and maybe refer it back to how that fitted into the speech that you gave. It's a bit like that hackneyed phrase, tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Actually, I hate that. It's far too glib, it's far too simplistic. But it does demonstrate how you should be linking your opening to your body and to your closing, or linking your closing to your body to your opening. In other words, you round the whole thing off. Let's look at another one. The repetitive close. Find a phrase and a structure in a repetitive format that strikes the cadence of a drummer, building to a climax like this. And so what we've been saying is that life is an adventure. Dare it. A duty, perform it. An opportunity, take it. A journey, complete it. A promise, fulfill it. A puzzle, solve it. A goal, achieve it. I quote from the article. That's far too clever for me. I would never think of anything like that myself. I love it. It has a sing-song, and in fact, you could go back to the quotation that Ted brought in the first episode this week. You could use that quotation in exactly the same way, because it has a rhythm. It has this drum beat idea. So that would be lovely. What the benediction close? Well, I had to laugh when I saw this. May God bless and keep you. Well, that would certainly work in a religious circumstance or speech, but I don't think it'd be hugely appropriate in the Toastmaster speech. But you never know. It depends on what your subject is. Maybe it would suit your subject. Let's have a look at another one. The challenging close. Okay, we know that many speeches, we should be giving a takeaway, something that the audience is going to be encouraged to do, say, think, or something. You can challenge them to do that thing, to say that thing, or to learn that thing. So, again, quoting from the article, if you were concluding a speech on the importance of taking action, you could say, let's turn from being spectators into being participants. Let's recall the inspiring words of US President Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to remain with those poor spirits who neither..." Oh gosh, this goes on and on. But you see what I mean? You challenge your audience to take up a thought or an action. So I quite like that. Let's see. Let's find another one. The sing-song close. I wonder what he means by that. Ask the audience to repeat a phrase a few times in your speech. For example, you might say, Toastmasters fosters learning. Ask your audience to repeat that phrase on cue. So you could use that if you have a foundational phrase in your speech. You know what a foundational phrase is, Ted?
Yes, I do, Maura. In fact, when you were speaking about this, it reminded me of the way Barack Obama used his inauguration speech to say, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
And when he said yes, the audience would join in. Yes, we can. And when he brought that saying to Ireland, he gave it in Irish. It's Faderling. It's Faderling. It's Faderling. So it is very effective. I like that one.
It is.
I like the foundational phrase.
Yeah.
All good speeches should have a phrase where the audience can join in at the end.
Not only that foundational phrase should be brief. It shouldn't be more than about 10 words. It should have a rhythm. Mm. It doesn't necessarily have to be rhyming, but it should have a beat to it. Because
it should. I agree.
That makes it easier for the audience actually to remember it. And the one that, Ted and I always keep coming back on is Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi.
Yes.
I see something in you, but I don't know what it is. Now, that actually doesn't have a huge rhythm to it, but it is easy to say and it's very easy to remember. Mm. Okay, let's look at another one. The congratulatory close. I salute you and everyone in your organization, and I look forward to your continued success. Ugh, I don't actually like that one. I wouldn't use that. But it may be appropriate if you're giving a speech to a company, to an organization, a specific organization.
Or if you were retiring as the adjunct general of the army or something, or the admiral of the navy or something.
Yeah, could be.
Many people in Toastmasters, not all by any means, but a number of evaluators in Toastmasters finish off the evaluation that they're giving a speaker by saying something like, I commend you for the wonderful speech and I look forward to your next speech.
I thoroughly dislike that.
I'm just reporting that as a fact, that somewhere along the line, somebody went to a training course and they were advised that it is a good thing to say to somebody at the end of to finish your evaluation speech, to say, and I look forward to your next speech. And that has I've come across that. Maybe you haven't ever heard anybody say it, but it does seem to be fashionable in some places.
Yes, I think this is something specific to Toastmasters, and I wouldn't try it on any other audience. It's a bit glib, isn't it? I look forward to your next speech. It doesn't close off what you were saying, right? You've referred to it as being for a evaluation. Thanks, Ted. It doesn't close off the evaluation. It doesn't say anything about what was good or what was bad, what can be improved, what you liked, what you didn't like. Any of the things that you put into your evaluation. So I don't think that's actually a particularly good close. I think we've gone through most of the interesting ones, if not all of the interesting ones. Is there any that you'd like the repetitive close? No, we done that, didn't we?
Let me say one thing about the how to finish a speech, is that I think it really depends upon what the purpose of your speech is.
Yep.
If the purpose of your speech is to get people to leave where the speech is made and walk down the street and do something together, then you finish it in that way. You finish it in saying, now is the time to go. And you need to say to people, not anything like, and I look forward to the next opportunity I'll have to speak to you. No, so everything should be subjugated to the purpose of your speech. That's the one advice I give somebody if I was coaching them on how to finish a speech. It is first answer the question, what's the purpose of your speech? What specific action, what specific emotion, or what specific thing do you want people to remember? And everything depends on that. It's one thing to have a load of golf clubs in your bag, but the question that you always come back to when you're playing golf is, where is the ball lying and where do I want it to land next?
That's very good.
Yeah, call to action.
That is good. That is good. And yes, I agree with you, Paul. The purpose of your speech is I was going to say in all cases, but certainly in most cases is the most important thing. And that brings us to the end. I hope you've enjoyed that little sortie into ways to end your speech, and that you'll maybe adopt some of them. Do go and read the article. I'll put a link to it in our website and on Anchor. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. So it's goodbye from me, Maurice O'Brien.
And goodbye from me, Ted Melanfe.
And listeners, whatever you do, listen to another episode.
And thanks to this week's fantastic guest, Michael Sexton from McAfee Toastmasters.
See you next week, folks. Bye.
See, you ruined the whole point of my ending.
I know.
Mine was an ending, and now we have no ending.
I can edit it, Paul. I can edit it. I'll listen to that and maybe I'll edit it accordingly. Yeah. Maybe. I'm not promising. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Well done.
Welcome back, Maura. Well, yeah, I can't guarantee, but if we have guests.
But that was a nice piece, actually. I like that.
Yeah, it's just a nice piece.
It's so much better that people should think about the ending and come up with something that strikes a note rather than saying thank you, because you should never say thank you. I've often heard Toastmasters saying the audience should be thanking you.
Yeah, it's thank.
I've been guilty of saying thank you. I know I've done that several times. Unless you have a purpose, you're better to keep your mouth shut if you have no purpose.
Yeah, our speech purpose is very important, that you know why you're up there speaking. That's very important, yeah.
Well, unconsciously almost we do it in normal conversation because, I don't speak until I decide I'm fed up listening to you, or I think I want to say something myself, and why do I want to say it? Sometimes people talk just to shut the other person up, and that's their real purpose. And that works.
Yeah, it does. It does indeed.
No, I have a real purpose here to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to leave you and love you. I'll love you and leave you. So thank you. That was a wonderful show. I enjoyed it.
Okay,
looking forward to listening to it.
We'll say
see you, Maura. See you, Paul.
Cheers, guys.
Goodbye.
I'll
to
say
YouTube.
bye.
Okay,